Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were beaten by Chen Ye's men before they even saw Chen Ye. Even this man was blind. Pierce's voice was deep and powerful, revealing a kind of aura of majesty without anger. His face was ashen, his eyes were cold, and he looked directly at the document, as if he wanted to see the truth between the lines. Crossbones, who was standing opposite his desk, bowed his head and replied, "That's true. We underestimated the strength of Chen Ye and his gang. To be honest, if that blind man didn't use his superpowers, he couldn't beat me." There was a hint of helplessness and confusion in his voice. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with this failure. Pierce didn't look at Crossbones, but asked the secretary beside him, "Haven't you found out the power behind Chen Ye yet? What kind of power can have so many mutants, and even mecha warriors that can transform?" The secretary beside him bowed his head and said, "Minister, the hand, which was originally going to join us, was completely destroyed by Chen Ye. At present, neither our own channels nor the channels in S.H.I.E.L.D. have found out the power behind Chen Ye." Pierce closed his eyes and thought. The hand was just an insignificant force to Hydra. Pierce didn't feel distressed. After a while, he opened his eyes and slowly said, "Are you sure you can win over Chen Ye?" Obviously, Pierce was very interested in the strength shown by Chen Ye. Whether it was his mysterious superpowers or his crosshair mecha, they could not be ignored. The secretary recalled the information about Chen Ye in her hand, and combined with his style, she slowly said, "Minister, from the information, Chen Ye does not seem to be willing to be inferior to others. But the information shows that he has had conflicts with Nick Fury's people, and it is estimated that they can cooperate. And with his current identity, he is backed by a mysterious organization, and it is estimated that it will cost a lot to win him over." Crossbones Ye on the side took over the topic. "I don't think Chen Ye's men have killed us. It is obvious that he still has some respect for the federal government. I think there is a chance to win him over." Pierce's eyes flashed with a deep light, and he was obviously having an inner debate. He flipped through Chen Ye's information, and his voice revealed a firmness. "Chen Ye, the Lord of Hell. Then, the responsibility he has to bear is also quite heavy. Find a time to send someone to talk to Chen Ye. Just you, Crossbones. As for the bargaining chip, I think their Hell's Kitchen hospital should be renovated. We will help him renovate it. And the government promised to help him recruit professors and doctors. And we'll give some federal subsidies. See if he is willing to cooperate with us." For Pierce, negotiating with someone like Chen Ye is not a big deal. After all, if Chen Ye wants to do a good job in Hell's Kitchen, he can't do without the support of the federal high level, and Hydra's resources in this regard are undoubtedly quite rich. On the contrary, if Chen Ye has no scruples and no worries, that would be a real headache. That kind of person, barefoot, is not afraid of those wearing shoes, and can do anything. Of course, we have to be prepared and notify the people at the base to release the Winter Soldier. If Chen Ye doesn't accept it, let the Winter Soldier kill Chen Ye. Pierce still made preparations for both situations. After hearing this, Crossbones couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Winter Soldier's ability may not be enough to fight Chen Ye. In his opinion, Winter Soldier might have been easily subdued or even killed by Chen Ye's men before he even approached Chen Ye. Pierce smiled mysteriously, with a sly look in his eyes. "What we want is for Chen Ye to kill Winter Soldier. Don't forget who the Winter Soldier's friend is. I remember Nick Fury seems to be working on some Superboy plan." Pierce stopped there. After hearing this, Crossbones suddenly realized that what Pierce wanted was for Chen Ye to kill Winter Soldier, then passed the news of Winter Soldier's death to Captain America, so that a conflict between Captain America and Chen Ye can be triggered. Once Captain America learns that Winter Soldier has suffered misfortune at the hands of Chen Ye, he will definitely settle accounts with Chen Ye. In this way, Nick Fury behind Captain America could not sit idly by and start a superhero war. No matter who wins or loses in the end, Hydra will be the winner, and Hydra only lost the Winter Soldier as a chess piece. Then Crossbones gave Pierce a thumbs up and said, "Smart, really smart, you are the minister." Pierce laughed when he heard such praise. His ambition and confidence were evident. He knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. would be his sooner or later. On the other side, Chen Ye, who was being plotted, was still driving his broken car with Miles to Tony's villa. when Chen Ye arrived at Tony's villa, it was already night. "Finally we're here, this damn broken car, it actually stalled halfway, and we have to find someone to repair it," Chen Ye complained. It took them 10 hours to get to the vicinity of Tony's manor. Just as Chen Ye drove to the gate of the manor, a Maybach just came out of Tony's manor. Chen Ye looked at the people in the car carefully and muttered to himself, "I seem to have seen this bald guy somewhere before. Forget it, let's go find Tony." The person in the Maybach was Tony's uncle Obadiah Stanley, and Obadiah also saw Chen Ye's broken car. He raised his mouth slightly and showed a sneer. "Now any broken car can come here, it's really cheap. But there is no need to come to this place again in the future." Obadiah felt much more comfortable when he thought of this. Chen Ye didn't care too much, and then drove in the manor for a full 10 minutes before reaching the villa area. After Chen Ye parked the car, the two finally got out of the car. Miles complained, "Mr. Chen Ye, why don't we just use our abilities to get here? Why do we have to drive this car? People with superpowers like us should keep a low profile. Only in this way can we integrate into this society. Don't rely too much on your abilities," Chen Ye said awkwardly, and then made up his mind to change the car quickly. After all, Miles had just met Chen Ye. Although he was puzzled, he could only nod in agreement. After all, Chen Ye was someone he knew in this parallel universe. Afterwards, Chen Ye walked quickly to the gate of the villa. He gently knocked on the gate and shouted loudly, "Tony, Tony. I'm Chen Ye, I'm here to see you." His voice echoed in the night sky, but no one responded. Time passed by minute, and 5 minutes passed, but the gate was still closed, and no one came to open it. Miles was watching from the side. He frowned and said to Chen Ye, "Maybe Mr. Tony is not at home. Why don't you call and ask?" Chen Ye stared at the villa intently. He found that the lights in the villa were on, which meant that there must be someone inside. He took out his mobile phone and called Tony, but the line was always busy. Chen Ye's heart began to sink. He recalled the bald man he had just seen on the road, and an ominous premonition came to his mind. He slammed the door hard and shouted loudly, "Tony, open the door. I'm Chen Ye." But still no one responded. Chen Ye instantly realized that something had happened to Tony. He felt more and more uneasy, so he took a deep breath and kicked the door hard. Seeing this, Miles wanted to step forward to stop him. He felt that this behavior was not appropriate, but it was too late. The door was kicked open by Chen Ye, and the door of the room was staggering open. Chen Ye rushed into the villa, and the scene in front of him stunned him instantly. Tony's face turned pale, and the small reactor on his chest was gone. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Looking at Tony, who had fallen to the ground, Chen Ye quickly took out the senzu beans and stuffed them into Tony's mouth. Miles watched from the side, with a panicked look on his face. He looked at Tony at a loss, and couldn't help but wonder whether he should call the police. "Sir, should we call the police?" Miles' voice trembled a little, and he was obviously frightened by the situation. Chen Ye didn't answer him. His eyes were fixed on Tony. The next second, Tony, who had eaten the senzu beans, suddenly moved his body. His face suddenly improved, and the hole in his chest was also restored by the senzu beans. Seeing this situation, Chen Ye was still worried that if he recovered without the small arc, this Tony in front of him could still become Iron Man. Tony, who had just recovered, shouted, "Pepper, where's Pepper?" Tony didn't care about his physical condition or why Chen Ye came in. He only cared about whether Pepper was in danger. He was afraid that his uncle would kill Pepper. Chen Ye knew what was going on and quickly called Pepper. After a few seconds, Pepper's phone was connected. "Ms. Pepper, hello, I'm Chen Ye." Tony snatched the phone away from Chen Ye before he finished speaking. "Pepper, are you okay?" Tony asked directly. Pepper on the other end of the phone heard Tony's voice and said excitedly, "Tony, are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'm on my way to arrest Obadiah with the agents. I found evidence of him framing you in his computer this morning." Tony learned that Pepper was going to catch Obadiah on the other end of the phone, and said excitedly, "Don't go, you are not his opponent, go back quickly." Tony knew that Obadiah had completed his war mecha at this time, and ordinary people were no match for him. "But we are already downstairs," Pepper said, a little confused. After all, in her opinion, Obadiah is just an ordinary person, and the presence of federal agents is enough to ensure her safety. Anyway, listen to me, leave quickly, I'll go to you right now. Tony hung up the phone and stood up and rushed out. Tony now just wants to rush to Pepper's side to ensure her safety. Only Chen Ye and Miles were left looking at each other. Miles really had a lot of suffering today, and he didn't know the situation all the time, so he could only follow Chen Ye all the way. Chen Ye had no choice but to follow. He didn't expect that when he came to talk to Tony, Tony happened to be robbed of the small arc reactor by his uncle to make his iron lump. If Chen Ye guessed correctly, it should be Iron Man versus Iron Lump in a while. I say, are you so ignoring your savior? Chen Ye complained in the car, but Chen Ye also understood that Tony was eager to save his wife at this time. Sorry, I'm in a hurry to find Pepper now. Tony said perfunctorily while driving fast. He drove the car with full concentration and sped along the road. His heart was full of worry and tension. He couldn't let Pepper take risks. He had to get to her as soon as possible. I know, marry Pepper earlier. Really, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come today, and I wasted a fairy bean. Chen Ye said helplessly. Miles, who had been in the back seat, was speechless. He had basically stayed in the car all day today. The point was that she really had something urgent to do, so he could only wait until the matter was over before talking about her. Seemingly seeing Miles' helplessness in the back seat, Chen Ye hurriedly comforted him. It's okay, I'll tell Tony after I finish this matter. Tony seemed to see that the two of them obviously had something to ask him, but he couldn't take care of it now, and just wanted to get to Pepper quickly. Why did you drive over there? Wouldn't it be faster if you didn't put on a mech and flew over there? Chen Ye asked curiously. This is different from the plot he remembered. Didn't Tony fly over wearing Iron Man at this time? You think I don't want to? You think I didn't pay attention to the wound on my chest? How can I use the small arc reactor? I have to make another one. Tony said helplessly. Tony also wanted to get his mech at this time, but now the wound on his chest has been healed. He can only wait until the matter is over and go back to upgrade the mech, and when this is over, I must ask Chen Ye what magical thing he used. Since it can make him heal, this guy Chen Ye can always come up with something shocking. Then you don't, how can you beat your uncle with a mecha? Chen Ye frowned and continued to ask. Tony didn't say anything and looked at Chen Ye. Chen Ye was panicked and shouted, don't look at me, just drive carefully ahead. Chen Ye understood Tony's idea instantly. So I work for you for free, not only saving your life, but also solving your problems. Do you know how expensive the senzu beans I fed you are? There are only 4 in the world and you ate 1. I owe you a favor. Tony said solemnly. Chen Ye didn't say anything after listening. After all, Chen Ye also needed Tony's help. In the deepest part of the laboratory on the other side, Obadiah was carrying the small arc reactor snatched from Tony. With a glimmer of ambition in his eyes, he slowly walked towards his war machine and carefully installed this precious small arc reactor in the core part of the war machine. At the same time, Pepper and a team of agents also rushed to Obadiah's laboratory building. Originally, Pepper wanted to listen to Tony's advice and wait for his arrival before taking action, but those anxious agents couldn't wait. They went straight to the laboratory. The agents used small explosives to blow open the security door of the laboratory, and the huge explosion startled Obadiah in the laboratory. He peeked through the crack in the door and found someone breaking in, and immediately began to put on his mecha equipment. This conflict seemed inevitable. Obadiah started his war machine, and the roar of the machine's engine echoed in the empty laboratory. He watched the intruder through the screen of the mecha, his eyes full of coldness and determination. Pepper and the agents walked into the laboratory carefully, and then saw a pile of experimental drawings and the mecha that had disappeared. He may have left. Pepper whispered. Pepper finally understood Tony's reminder now, and could only secretly beg that Obadiah had left. The agents searched every corner of the laboratory with weapons in hand, trying to find clues left by Obadiah. They looked nervous, and the weapons in their hands seemed to be their only support. The air in the laboratory was filled with an invisible sense of oppression, as if danger would come at any time. Suddenly, a huge figure fell from the sky and landed near Pepper. Pepper widened her eyes in horror, and only had time to scream. then turned around and ran away in high heels. Her heart was beating like a drum, and every step was trembling. The battle in the laboratory broke out immediately. The agent's bullets and explosives left scars on the machine, but Obadiah's war machine was unscathed, as if those attacks had no effect on it at all. Under the iron fist of the mecha, the agents fell one by one, and blood and broken limbs were scattered all over the ground. Only Pepper escaped outside the building. Just when Pepper thought she was safe and was about to call Tony, a mecha broke out of the ground behind Pepper. Pepper turned around and saw the mecha, screaming in fear and retreating. Obadiah controlled the mecha and raised his right hand to Pepper and said coldly, "You are useless." Pepper's heart sank instantly, and she realized that she had nowhere to escape. Facing the war machine controlled by Obadiah, she felt like a tiny ant that could be crushed at any time. At this moment, she regretted not listening to Tony's advice, and she didn't know if Tony would be sad for her if she died. At this moment of despair, a voice came from the sky, "Stan." Obadiah looked up and saw that it was Chen Ye who used magnetism to drag Tony and his car into the sky. Chapter 63. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the car to arrive. Chen Ye first parked the car steadily on the ground, and then turned his attention to the huge Obadiah mecha. Then he controlled Obadiah's mecha with one hand. As soon as Tony got out of the car, he immediately rushed to Pepper. His eyes were full of worry, and he hugged Pepper, as if he wanted to protect her tightly under his wings. Tony was terrified. If he was a step later, Pepper would die. Tony couldn't imagine what his life would be like without Pepper. Pepper also hugged him back tightly, as if she had grabbed a life-saving straw. There was still a trace of panic in her eyes, and she couldn't believe that she was safe. If she hadn't felt Tony's body temperature and heartbeat, she wouldn't have believed that all this was true. Hey, why don't you just get married right here? Why are you still showing off your affection in this situation? Chen Ye walked over, with a hint of teasing in his eyes, but more of a focus on the mecha in front of him. Should I solve this, or do you solve it yourself? Chen Ye asked Tony while looking at the big mecha. Tony also temporarily let go of his love affair, and then questioned Obadiah with anger in his eyes. Why do you want to do this? I can't believe you would do this to me. Obadiah said coldly in the mecha, I've had enough of you. Why should this company be mine? It's all your fault, my damn mutant friend. Otherwise, I would have succeeded long ago. Since you can't let me get what I want, let's die together. Obadiah shouted at the top of his lungs, activating the mecha's self-destruct device. He intended to die with the group of people who were destroying his plan. Seeing this, Chen Ye immediately lifted the mecha with magnetic force and let it float in the air. He stared at the mecha that was gradually turning red, knowing that it was about to self-destruct. So, he pushed the magnetic tray hard and led the mecha into the air. Just then, a deafening explosion broke through the night sky. Flames shot up to the sky and heat waves rolled. The entire city was shrouded in the aftermath of the explosion. Residents ran out of their homes and looked up at the gorgeous fireball in the sky. After Chen Ye solved it, he also landed gracefully. After the explosion subsided, Chen Ye landed gracefully. He looked at the gradually dissipating smoke and said lightly, in fact, without me, your plan would not succeed. Obviously, this was said to Obadiah, who could no longer hear. Miles, who stayed where he was, watched Chen Ye fly freely in the sky, solving the mecha crisis with an extremely elegant posture, and his heart was full of envy. He has always longed to have such superb abilities and solve problems so elegantly. He silently vowed that he must learn from Chen Ye in the future, constantly improve his abilities, and become a person as outstanding as him. At the same time, Tony looked at the exploding mecha in the sky, and his heart was mixed. Although there were some contradictions between him and Obadiah, they were partners after all. Now that Obadiah has passed away, he can't help but feel a lot of emotions. Okay, we should go back too. I have something else to ask you. Chen Ye saw that the matter was resolved, and it was time to talk about business. Tony first stepped forward to Chen Ye. Thanks, buddy. Thanks to you today. By the way, can you give me another pill of your magical medicine? I'll go back and study it. Obviously, Tony was very interested in Chen Ye's magic beans. Let's talk business first, Tony. I guess you are more interested in this story. Chen Ye pulled Miles, who was in a daze, over. Tony looked Miles up and down, but he couldn't see any outstanding features of Miles in front of him. Tony frowned and said, "Then let's talk in the car." "We can't talk here. I have to send Pepper back first." Just as the four were about to get in the car, the federal government support arrived, led by Tony's good friend Rhodes. Rhodes walked quickly to Tony, grabbed Tony's shoulders, and looked him up and down. Rhodes walked quickly to Tony, grabbed Tony's shoulders, and looked him up and down. "It seems that you are fine. I was worried all the way." Ever since receiving Pepper's call for help, Rhodes has been concerned about Tony's safety. He rushed to Tony's house but found that he was not there, so he tracked him all the way here. Seeing that Tony was safe, he finally let go of his worries. "However, you still have to hold a press conference tomorrow. This explosion caused, the residents have paid much attention to this event." Rhodes then reminded Tony. Tony could not help but frown at this news. He always hated this kind of press conference, not to mention explaining the cause of this incident. But Rhodes was right, this was his responsibility and obligation. Pepper on the side also obviously saw the irritability in Tony's heart and quickly restored his secretary's nature. "No problem, I will ask the people below to prepare for tomorrow's press conference, and Tony will be there on time tomorrow," Pepper said quickly. Tony looked at her, and his irritability was slightly relieved. He knew that with Pepper there, everything would be arranged in an orderly manner. "If there is nothing else, we will go back first." Tony looked at Chen Ye and then said to Rhodes. Then Rhodes and Chen Ye looked at each other, nodded and said hello, and then stayed with the agents to clean up the mess. Along the way, Chen Ye asked Miles to tell Tony the story of his travel through the parallel universe. Pepper next to him was almost unbelievable. After all, it was too unbelievable for ordinary people. On the other hand, Tony listened with relish, his eyes revealing the light of wisdom. So this kid traveled to the parallel time and space because of the time and space cracks created by the collider. I really want to have a good talk with the doctor who created the collider. It's a genius idea. Tony praised. So do you have a way to get this little guy back? Chen Ye asked. I can't guarantee this. I have to go back and study it. If there is information about the collider, maybe I can make one for you. Tony looked at Miles and replied, as long as he is given some time, he believes he can create it. But if there are no relevant drawings, it will take some time. However, Tony believes that with his genius wisdom, others can create it, and he can also create it. Miles on the side heard it and could only answer helplessly, I don't have the drawings. He was fighting Kingpin at the time. How could he have thought that he was transported to this parallel universe? Chen Ye saw that Miles was in a low mood and comforted him quickly. It's okay, this Tony is one of the smartest people I know, give him some time and he will find a way to send you back. Miles looked up at Chen Ye, a trace of gratitude flashed in his eyes, but he did not speak, just nodded silently. Hearing Chen Ye's praise for himself, Tony smiled and nodded. Don't worry, you will hear good news soon. Tony said confidently. When Miles heard Tony's words, a warm current surged in his heart. He felt that he was not alone in this strange universe, because he had friends like Chen Ye and Tony around him. Finally, Chen Ye sent Pepper and Tony back to the villa. Before leaving, Chen Ye took out a blueprint and threw it to Tony, which showed the latest elements. Tony took a quick look and looked at Chen Ye in astonishment. He didn't expect Chen Ye to have this thing. The things on the blueprint were not even researched by himself at present. Chen Ye smiled and said, Don't look at me like that. This thing was invented by your father. Don't ask me, I won't tell you. Then Chen Ye drove his broken car back with Miles without looking back. Tony looked at Chen Ye's back, hesitant to speak, wanted to say thank you but couldn't say it. After all, Tony had his own self-esteem. But Chen Ye did help him a lot today, and finally he could only say in a low voice, thank you. Finally, he turned around and returned to his villa. What he didn't know was that Chen Ye's mouth curled up slightly behind him. The system prompts began to prompt. Congratulations to the host, Tony Stark. Congratulations to the host, Tony Stark's favorability has reached full stars. Chapter 64. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Pepper arrived at the press conference. She quickly set up the scene, busy while greeting the reporters who came one after another. The time of the press conference was about to arrive, but Tony did not show up. Rhodes on the side also noticed this situation. He came over and asked in his low voice, "Why hasn't Tony arrived yet? Do you want to call him to urge him?" Pepper frowned. She had called Tony several times, but the other party didn't answer. She tried to stay calm and said to Rhodes, "Don't worry, Tony will definitely come if he agrees. I have called several times, but Tony has not answered. Don't worry, Tony will definitely come if he agrees." Pepper said with a frown. However, she herself was unsure. After all, Tony often missed press conferences without reason. Will he let everyone down again this time? If Tony doesn't come, how will the press conference proceed? These questions kept echoing in Pepper's mind. Time passed by minute, and the atmosphere at the press conference became more and more tense. Many reporters were in place, and they were all waiting for the arrival of the protagonist Tony. The lenses of cameras and video cameras were all aimed at the entrance, and the press conference could start as soon as Tony appeared. However, as time went by, Tony still did not appear. The reporters at the scene began to whisper, talking to each other, and guessing various possibilities. There was confusion and disappointment in their eyes, because they were all looking forward to Tony's appearance. Pepper felt her heartbeat quicken. She had never felt such great pressure before. She knew that she had to find a way to solve this problem. Just when Pepper was about to go on stage to host the press conference in person, there was a sudden roar of machinery in the sky, and everyone looked up. A red mecha fell from the sky and landed on the main seat of the press conference. The appearance of this Iron Man surprised and excited the reporters on the scene. They picked up the microphone and rushed to Iron Man. A reporter asked, "Excuse me, are you the Iron Man who came recently?" Iron Man did not answer, but just stood there quietly. He was wearing a red mecha, and the reactor on his chest was shining, which looked very cool. His appearance made the atmosphere on the scene boil up all of a sudden. "Excuse me, Iron Man, what is your relationship with Stark Industries? Excuse me, do you know Mr. Tony Stark? Are you here to attend the press conference on behalf of Mr. Tony Stark?" Pepper in the audience clearly recognized this Iron Man and was relieved. She knew that this was Tony's masterpiece. He did not forget about the press conference, but appeared in front of everyone in an unexpected way. Rhodes, on the other hand, walked to the front of the stage very nervously. "Everyone, please be quiet," he shouted loudly, with unquestionable authority in his voice. "We will give you an explanation later." Then he wanted to pull Tony away, but Tony was wearing an iron suit, and Rhodes found embarrassed that he could not pull Tony. It seemed that Tony did not want to talk to him. Rhodes, who was standing by, could only cover Tony's ears and whisper, "Don't reveal your identity as Iron Man. If you reveal your identity as Iron Man, the military and the federal leaders will come to you for trouble." It is obvious that Rhodes is thinking about Tony. Once Iron Man reveals his identity, the military and the federal leaders will definitely ask Tony to hand over the mecha blueprints. It is okay if the federal government does not know Tony's true identity. If they know, they will try their best to take him for themselves. But before Rhodes heard Tony's reply, the reporter below obviously couldn't hold back his heart and continued to ask. After a while, Tony's helmet automatically faded, revealing the face known to the world. There was a hint of unruly smile on his face, and the light of wisdom flashed in his eyes. At this moment, he was not only a billionaire and philanthropist, but also the superhero admired by countless people, Iron Man. He looked down at the reporters below, with a hint of teasing and confidence in his eyes. Then, he raised his lips slightly, and said in his unique, slightly arrogant tone the famous words that everyone in the Marvel Universe knows, "I am Iron Man. Iron Man." As soon as these words came out, there was silence at the scene. Then, as if they were electrocuted, the reporters began to write furiously to record this historic moment. They knew that once this headline was released, it would surely cause a global sensation. After Tony finished his famous words, he put on his helmet again. The familiar red and gold armor covered his body again, as if he was born for this armor. He straightened his chest and looked forward firmly. With a roar, Tony turned into a golden light and broke through the clouds. Only Pepper, who looked confused, and Rhodes, who was terrified, were left alone to face the questions of reporters, watching the man in armor falling from the sky in the news report, facing the camera, and then saying the classic saying, "I am Iron Man." Chen Ye smiled. Only Tony, the arrogant and coquettish guy, could make such an appearance, it can only be said that he is worthy of being Tony Stark. He knew that the gears of fate began to turn, and a big event in the Marvel Universe was about to happen. He also had to seize the time to make friends and expand his power and strength. Chen Ye had an idea in his mind, that is, to form a team that could rival the Avengers. A superhero team unique to Hell's Kitchen. Deadpool on the side watched Tony's handsome appearance on the news and imitated him. He took off his red mask, then posed in a posture that he thought was handsome and said in a low voice, "I am Deadpool. How about it, am I handsome?" Deadpool asked Pietro and Wanda. Pietro looked at him with disgust. Wanda simply ignored him and ignored Deadpool. Chen Ye looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel funny. In the void, a bald wizard was confronting a magenta knight. "Outsider, this is not the place you should come to," Ancient One said calmly. The magenta knight whispered, "The strength of this universe is a bit high. Next time, I'll call the old man Fama over." The magenta knight obviously felt that there were many auras in this universe that were stronger than the bald wizard in front of him, so he should call someone over next time. Then the magenta knight summoned a silver space wall with his right hand and walked straight into it, disappearing in this universe. After watching the strange pink knight leave, Master Ancient One said, "There are a lot of outsiders on Earth recently, so I still have to go and take a look." Chapter 65. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very happy, and the old man was very happy. Hell's Kitchen, Good Luck Restaurant. Next, everything will be handed over to Wanda. Wanda's orders are equal to my orders. Chen Ye glanced at the crowd and said seriously, "Dismiss." Chen Ye issued instructions to a group of fierce people. They looked like gangsters, and each of them had a fierce look on their faces. These were Uncle Jean Bing's men. Uncle Jean Bing's men left the restaurant one after another, leaving Wanda standing there alone. Chen Ye walked up to Wanda and said to her gently, "Wanda, your task now is to take over Uncle Jean Bing's affairs. Don't be too stressed. You know, this is a brand new challenge for you, but I believe you are capable of it. Try to abandon all illegal affairs, so that we can get the company on the right track and not violate our original intention. Then don't have too much pressure. Our family doesn't lack this little money." Chen Ye added, "I have no problem." Wanda answered with a firm look in her eyes, and then turned and left for Fisk Building. Wanda silently encouraged herself in her heart. She had to work hard to manage it well, firstly to live up to Chen Ye's trust, and secondly to be Chen Ye's best backing, so that she could stay by Chen Ye's side. "Thank you for your hard work." Chen Ye looked at Wanda distressedly. After all, Wanda is just a 20-year-old girl, and she has to take over such a big company at this age. But there is really no one around Chen Ye, either a 60-year-old killer, or someone like Deadpool. The only good Winston has been sent to manage the Continental Hotel. Chen Ye really couldn't imagine what would happen if Deadpool was allowed to manage the company. He would probably use all the company's liquid funds to pick up girls. Just as Chen Ye was thinking, a golden halo suddenly appeared in the restaurant. The halo was rotating and had strange runes. Chen Ye saw the golden halo and had a guess in his mind. The next second, Chen Ye found that the space around the restaurant was a change, just like glass breaking, but not long after, everything returned to normal. Chen Ye saw that even the mirror space was used. There was only one person with such a big card, and that was the Ancient One, who was killed by the plot because the special effects were too expensive. The figure of the Ancient One slowly walked out of the golden light circle. She was wearing a gorgeous robe, and her bald head was particularly dazzling under the light. At this time, her eyes were calm and deep, as if she saw through everything in the world. "You don't seem surprised at all, as if you knew I would come to you, Mr. Chen Ye." Master Gu Yi said. Her voice was calm and steady. Chen Ye's calm and composed attitude made Master Gu Yi puzzled. Could it be that the man in front of him had the ability to predict the future? Or was he absolutely confident in his own strength? Whichever it was, Master Gu Yi became interested. Master Gu Yi had some sense of the future, and she could observe everyone's life trajectory, whether in the past or in the future, but she found that only in Chen Ye, she could not see through his future. But Gu Yi was very sure that the person in front of him was indeed from this universe. "Master Gu Yi, I have heard of your name for a long time." Chen Ye did not continue to pretend that he did not know Master Gu Yi's identity. He took the initiative to speak to show his sincerity. because he believed that Master Gu Yi had already known who Chen Ye was before he came. I have been observing you for a long time. Everything you have done recently is different from the future I saw. But you did do better. Hell's Kitchen has a better future because of you. Master Gu Yi praised. Thank you for the compliment. I wonder what Master Gu Yi came here for today. Chen Ye really didn't know the purpose of Gu Yi's visit. It seemed that Chen Ye didn't do anything to harm the earth. Today I came to tell you that recently a knight from another universe wanted to come to the earth, and I stopped him in time. You should be careful. Master Gu Yi explained. She saw that the knight looked very similar to the knight that Chen Ye had transformed into some time ago. He should be here to cause trouble for Chen Ye. Secondly, it is to send a guest from another universe to his original universe. That guest is here with you. Master Gu Yi looked at Chen Ye and continued to add, after listening to Master Gu Yi's words, Chen Ye hurriedly asked, Excuse me, Master Gu Yi, Master, what color is that knight? Gu Yi thought about it and said slowly, pink. After hearing this, Chen Ye had a headache. That knight was the destroyer of the world, Brother Xiao Ming. Fortunately, he was stopped by Gu Yi, otherwise he would not know what would happen if he came in. As for the second point, Chen Ye was not surprised. Chen Ye also wanted to ask Gu Yi for help, but he did not have the ability. Thank you for reminding me, then I will call Miles out now and let you take him back. Chen Ye said slowly. Don't worry, I have something to tell you. Do you know the origin of your guest? Master Gu Yi asked seriously. This time, Chen Ye's guest brought a great impact to the multiverse, and the Spider-Man in each universe has changed to some extent. Chen Ye looked at Gu Yi's serious expression and was thinking seriously about the impact of Miles. Suddenly, an idea flashed. You mean that Miles, who should not have become Spider-Man, is an anomaly, which led to things that should not have happened in other parallel universes. After all, according to Miles' life trajectory, he should have become a wanderer, not Spider-Man. Gu Yi said seriously, yes, there can only be one Spider-Man in a universe, and every Spider-Man will experience the pain of bereavement. This is Spider-Man's fate. And the spider he got the spider possession of did not belong to his universe, but to the spider of Earth, 44 universe. Gu Yi explained, Peter Parker in this parallel universe died accidentally because he did not become Spider-Man, which led to the destruction of this parallel universe. There is a problem in our two adjacent Spider-Man universes. I can't leave the Earth for the time being, so I need you to solve it. Ancient One said slowly, Ancient One really can't leave now. There are too many variables now. Ancient One must ensure that the birth of the next Supreme Master is foolproof, so he has to keep an eye on the Earth all the time, because he doesn't have much time left, and finding Chen Ye is because Chen Ye has infinite possibilities. But, the destruction of the other two parallel universes will not affect our universe, right? Why should I go there? Chen Ye asked puzzledly. Chen Ye really doesn't care about the lives of people in other universes, and doesn't want to take on this job. Because it is an adjacent universe, when the universe is destroyed, there will be a crack in time and space, and some people will come to this universe, just like your guests. These people will bring great trouble to our universe. Ancient One explained calmly. Ancient One has another sentence that he didn't say. In the worst case, our universe may be wiped out. If the sky falls, you are still there, Master Ancient One. Besides, I can't travel through parallel universes. Chen Ye really doesn't want to get involved in these things, he just wants to stay quietly in Hell's Kitchen. Looking at Chen Ye, who was unmoved, Master Gu Yi was still very calm, as if she had guessed Chen Ye's thoughts. Then she threw a hanging ring to Chen Ye. As a reward, I will teach you how to teleport. Chapter 66. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The more you fight, the more you will be rewarded. Chen Ye took the ring and looked at it carefully. He was delighted. He didn't expect that the portal skill was so easy to cheat. I'm not the kind of person who cares about rewards. For the peace of the universe, I have no choice but to do it. Always be prepared to fight for the peace of the universe. Chen Ye said passionately, almost slipping his tongue. This made Master Gu Yi's calm expression show a hint of helplessness. Is it really right to give such an important task to the guy in front of him? But, I remember that the portal can't directly teleport me to the parallel universe. Chen Ye asked seriously. He had no memory of the portal being able to teleport to the parallel universe. Many people thought that Tobey Spider-Man and Garfield Spider-Man in the three-worm frame were pulled out by the Fat Man using the portal, but it wasn't. They were all summoned by the space-time rift. The Ancient One wizard nodded after listening. Yes, I didn't say that the portal can teleport you to the parallel universe. But because it is an adjacent universe, I can find the space-time rift and send you there. Ancient One has a way to send Chen Ye there. After all, Ancient One has lived in this world for so long, and basically learned all the magic that should be seen and not seen. There is no magic that she doesn't know, the only difference is whether she wants to use it or not. After listening, Chen Ye suddenly realized that it was really the old ginger that was spicy. He really wanted to become a family with her and get all her magic for free. At this moment, Master Gu Yi suddenly asked, Chen Ye, do you know why there are spacetime cracks in this universe? Chen Ye was stunned. He had never thought about this question. Hearing Master Gu Yi mention it, he couldn't help but feel curious. There are countless parallel universes in this universe. They are adjacent to each other, but they do not interfere with each other. However, there are exceptions, such as this time. When there is a variable, a butterfly effect will occur, and space-time cracks will form between these parallel universes, connecting them together. Master Gu Yi explained. Chen Ye seemed to understand after listening. According to Chen Ye's understanding in his previous life, Marvel simply wanted to make money, but was lazy, so they simply created a whole parallel universe. Okay, Master Gu Yi. Then I want to ask how to return if I complete the task. Chen Ye still cares more about his own safety. Master Gu Yi seemed to have guessed that Chen Ye would ask this question a long time ago, and slowly said, I have cast a magic on your hanging ring. You can come back as long as you use it to activate this hanging ring. But it can only be used once. When you go next time, find me and I will add it to your list. Gu Yi used this method to get Chen Ye to report his progress. Okay, no problem. I will definitely help you. The main thing is that I want to make a friend with Master Gu Yi. It is normal for friends to help each other. Master Gu Yi, you should not mind making me your friend. Chen Ye suddenly became sincere. After hearing what Chen Ye said, Master Gu Yi smiled on his calm face. After so many years, he did not expect that someone would propose to be friends with him. You are very interesting. Master Gu Yi did not answer directly, but used a more implicit sentence to express his opinion, but Chen Ye had already got the answer from the system prompt. Congratulations to the host successfully added Gu Yi as a friend. Congratulations to the host, get the attribute, portal. Do you want to merge immediately? Merge immediately. Chen Ye muttered in his heart. Instantly, a wave of knowledge and experience about the portal flooded into Chen Ye's mind like a tide, and Chen Ye felt as if he had mastered the skills of using the portal. Chen Ye instantly felt that he had practiced his portal for 2.5 years. Chen Ye did not expect the system to be so considerate. Chen Ye was still thinking about how long it would take to learn the portal. Now with the help of the system, he can already use the portal skillfully. Just when Chen Ye was communicating with the system, Master Gu Yi had already removed the mirror space. Now, you can ask the guest from the parallel universe to come down, and I should send him back. Gu Yi said slowly. After listening to Gu Yi's words, Chen Ye hurried upstairs to find Miles. After all, this kid didn't know how to go back to his own universe. A few minutes later, Chen Ye walked down the stairs with Miles, who was confused, and walked in front of Gu Yi. Then he turned to Miles and introduced, "This is Master Gu Yi who will send you home." Miles nodded to Master Gu Yi to show respect. "Hello, Master Gu Yi, my name is Miles." Miles' mood at this time is very complicated. His experience in the strange world these days makes him feel emotional. He once thought that he would never return to his own universe and would never see his parents. However, now Chen Ye suddenly appeared and told him that someone could take him home, which made Miles excited and worried. He was afraid that he would return disappointed again this time, but his heart was full of expectations and excitement. "Child, you are very brave. Don't worry, you will be able to go home soon." Gu Yi looked at Miles with a kind look. After all, He stopped the cosmic crisis at such a young age. Gui knew that the child in front of him was a hero who should not exist, and there would be many disasters in the future. Child, do you know how special you are? Gui finally gave a soft-hearted hint. Miles looked at Gui with a puzzled look, and thought for a moment, maybe I am black. Gui shook his head. Child, you know, basically there is only one Spider-Man in each universe, and every Spider-Man will basically experience the pain of losing his loved ones, and your parents are still alive now, you know. This is an inevitable result. Chen Ye on the side nodded unconsciously after listening. God knows how many times Uncle Ben has died. It is estimated that the tombs of Uncle Ben in the multiverse can circle the earth. After listening to Gui's words, Miles thought for a while. So, my parents will be in danger. Gui continued to shake his head. Your parents will be fine, but you have to be careful. Okay, you should go home. Gui seemed to see Miles' future, but some things are inevitable results as she said. Then, Master Gui waved gently, and a mysterious force surged from her palm and enveloped Miles. Miles' body began to undergo wonderful changes, and his skin gradually became transparent, as if blending into the surrounding air. Miles felt the changes in his body and waved goodbye to Chen Ye. Thank you, Chen Ye. If you have a chance, you must come to my universe. I will treat you to a meal. Thank you, Master Ancient One. As his words fell, Miles' figure gradually disappeared, and finally turned into a beam of light and dissipated into the air. When Miles completely disappeared, Chen Ye curiously asked Master Ancient One, what if Peter Parker didn't become Spider-Man? Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a long time, the two of them were still young. Gui, who was about to leave, also found Chen Ye's question interesting. I saw that Master Gui gently closed her eyes, as if she was listening to the melody of time, and the time gem on her neck was slightly glowing purple. Chen Ye guessed that Master Gui should be observing the future and observing various future possibilities. Chen Ye saw that Gui seemed unable to wake up for a while, so he walked aside, picked up 2 bottles of ice cold Happy Fat House water on the table, and drank them up. Just after Chen Ye drank the second bottle of Fat House water, Master Gui finally opened her eyes. There was a gleam of wisdom in her eyes, as if she had seen through all the possibilities of the future. It seems that Master Gui has the answer. I wonder if you can tell me. Chen Ye is indeed very curious about what would happen if Peter Parker did not become Spider-Man. Master Gui glanced at him lightly, with a flash of thought in her eyes. What she saw was Peter Parker in countless timelines. Their life trajectories were different. Some were scientists, some were businessmen, and some even became villains. However, no matter what kind of people they became in which world line, the ending was not good. Some were killed by evil forces, some died in accidents, and some even died alone. Of course, some became superheroes other than Spider-Man. Why don't you take a look yourself? Gui waved his hand casually. Chen Ye saw that the space around him changed again. Chen Ye seemed to have entered the long river of time, with countless light curtains around him. Maybe you should go and see it yourself. Master Gui said lightly. She waved her hand lightly, and the space around her began to distort and deform, as if entering a mysterious world. Chen Ye only felt that the space around him seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, blurry, and countless light screens appeared in front of him, as if it was the stage of the universe. Each light screen represents a different universe, and each universe records the life of a man named Peter Parker. He saw the first half of Peter Parker's life, which was no different from other ordinary people. He saw Peter Parker's childhood, his mischief at school, his love story with Mary Jane, and the death of Uncle Ben, but the turning point was that some Peter Parkers were bitten by spiders and became Spider-Man. Some Peters were not bitten by spiders, and then they either died in an accident, and then the entire universe was wiped out. Some Peters became other superheroes through various means. Chen Ye saw Peter in the light screen. Some became a member of the new Fantastic Four, some became the Human Torch, some became the Hulk, and the most outrageous was the Captain America. Some Peter Parkers became villains. Some became the Green Goblin, some became the Plague of the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. And some became the Lizard Man. However, Chen Ye discovered an amazing fact. No matter which superhero Peter Parker became, no matter how amazing and wonderful his life was, the universe he existed in could not escape the fate of destruction. It seems that there is only one right way, that is to become Spider-Man and take the responsibility of fighting against evil. After reading the information given to him by Master Gu Yi, Chen Ye closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. He began to think about whether he was just a character in someone else's script like Peter Parker. Master Gu Yi had been observing Chen Ye's reaction, and seeing his nervous look, he couldn't help but nod secretly in his heart. She took so much effort to show Chen Ye these things just to warn Chen Ye not to change other people's lives, especially her future disciple, Chen Ye's college classmate Stephen Strange. Master Gu Yi could not let Chen Ye interfere with Stephen Strange's life trajectory in any way. That's why they went to such great lengths to throw Chen Ye into other universes. It is estimated that when Chen Ye completes the task, Strange should be in Camartage if nothing unexpected happens. At this time, Chen Ye opened his eyes, looked at the Ancient One, and suddenly smiled. "Thank you, I understand." Chen Ye has understood the good intentions of the Ancient One. In fact, he is not an exception. The Ancient One means that I must work hard to change the tragedy of the people around me. What Chen Ye can do is to change the tragedy of his friends around him, and Strange happens to be Chen Ye's college roommate. Although Strange has a bad temper and is a little arrogant, but after all, they have been together for so long. In the future, if Strange has any problems, Chen Ye will probably help. After all, if Strange's girlfriend dies, the universe will be destroyed by him. If Master Gu Yi knew that Chen Ye misunderstood his meaning, he would probably regret coming to see Chen Ye. Today, then a golden halo slowly emerged behind Master Gu Yi, and the halo was rotating. Behind the halo was Camartage. Master Gu Yi said to Chen Ye, "Let's go, follow me to learn about the portal." But Chen Ye did not intend to follow Master Gu Yi to leave. Gu Yi asked in confusion, "Don't you want to learn about the portal?" Chen Ye smiled slightly, put on the ring on his right hand, and then drew a circle in the air. A golden halo also appeared in the air instantly, and the halo showed Camartage. "Master Ancient One, I have learned it. There are still things I need to deal with here. When I finish, I will visit you in person and then go to other parallel universes." Chen Ye replied calmly. Ancient One's calm eyes suddenly widened, and it was obvious that he was shocked by Chen Ye's move. "Did you learn it just by watching it once? Or have you already learned it?" Ancient One had originally prepared that Chen Ye would need to learn for several months before he could learn the portal. After all, the portal is not an ordinary magic. Even a genius student like the one in Camartage would need at least a month to learn it. Ancient One couldn't help but wonder if the self in other parallel universes had taught Chen Ye. Chen Ye's performance in front of him was really too shocking. "How about you come to Camartage to practice for a while? I will give you the Supreme Sorcerer." Ancient One said. Ancient One had reason to believe that as long as Chen Ye was given some time, Chen Ye's speed would have reason to become the strongest Supreme Sorcerer in history. As for who Strange was, Ancient One said that he was not familiar with him. Chen Ye refused and said, "This kind of good thing should be left to Strange." Chen Ye knew how much he was capable of. If he didn't rely on the system, he didn't know how much time he would have to waste to learn magic. It was estimated that by the time he came out of the mountain, the purple potato spirit would have finished snapping his fingers. Then why bother learning anything? It would be faster to make more friends. Seeing this, Gu Yi didn't try to persuade him to stay. He walked directly into the aperture and returned to Camartage. As for Chen Ye, he needed to explain the matter of Hell's Kitchen, and then go to the Spider-Man parallel universe. Chen Ye was also very curious about which version of Spider-Man he would meet. Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At noon, Chen Ye called the whole family to have lunch together, and explained the matter of leaving. Chen Ye was wearing an apron and frying fragrant fried rice in the back kitchen. His technique was extremely skillful and looked very powerful. Deadpool watched Chen Ye frying rice with his eyes wide open, flipping the spoon, flipping the pot, and throwing the pot. The smooth operation made Deadpool completely stunned. "Chen Ye, how can I live without you? Can you take me with you? I want to eat the food you cook every day." Deadpool hugged Chen Ye's legs and cried there, thinking about what would happen after Chen Ye left. Deadpool was about to eat the food made by Wanda, and his body couldn't help but tremble. The taste was really worse than asking Deadpool to jump off the building. Chen Ye kicked Deadpool away and said helplessly, get lost, take the dishes out quickly. Don't worry, when I go to other parallel universes, I will definitely bring you along. A few minutes later, the fried rice was served. Chen Ye walked out of the kitchen with the fried rice. The table of dishes looked delicious, which made the whole family hungry. Come on, everyone, eat quickly. Chen Ye called everyone. Everyone picked up their chopsticks and started eating. Why did you call us all here today? Wanda asked first, because she was busy sorting out the property left by Uncle Jean Bing yesterday, and Wanda didn't know that Chen Ye was going to a parallel universe. John Wick, Master Yi and Winston also looked at Chen Ye curiously. They didn't know the purpose of calling them here today, but they knew their status very well. Although they were curious, they didn't ask. Now seeing that the lady spoke first, they looked at Chen Ye curiously. Yes, in the eyes of John Wick and other latecomers, Ms. Wanda is their boss lady. Currently, there are only two people who know that Chen Ye is going to a parallel universe, Pietro and Deadpool. Pietro and Deadpool looked at each other, and then Pietro buried his head in eating again, as if he wanted to use food to cover up his guilty conscience. Deadpool was still as calm as ever. He ate the food by himself, looked at Chen Ye from time to time, and said, Chen Ye is going to a parallel universe. Don't forget to take me with you when the time comes. Deadpool added. Everyone was shocked when they heard Deadpool's words. They didn't expect Chen Ye to go to the parallel universe so soon. Yes, I will go to the parallel universe in the next 2 days. As for how long I will be there, I don't know. So I have to explain everything before I leave. Chen Ye nodded, and seeing the obvious reluctance on Wanda's face, he felt a little sorry. Wanda was obviously unhappy. She had just come back and wanted to stay with Chen Ye for a while. Unexpectedly, Chen Ye had to go away again in just a few days, and he was going to another universe. She couldn't help but frowned, and there was a hint of resentment in her eyes when she looked at Chen Ye. I want to go too. Wanda hesitated for a while, but still mustered up the courage to say to Chen Ye. Wanda just wanted to spend more time with Chen Ye, and her strength could also help Chen Ye. After all, the parallel universe is not her territory, and one more person means one more person to take care of. However, Wanda's words made Chen Ye stunned. He didn't expect Wanda to follow him to the parallel universe. This surprised Chen Ye a little. After all, the parallel universe is not their universe, and he is not very clear about what unknown dangers exist. If something unexpected happens, it will be bad to take Wanda into the parallel universe. Chen Ye looked at Wanda's stubborn eyes and tried to calm the dispute with comforting words. He said, you still have to stay and deal with Uncle Jean Bing's affairs for me. I will be back soon, don't worry. Other people at the table were obviously avoiding the fight between the boss and the boss's wife. They all lowered their heads to eat silently, with an attitude of it's none of my business, don't worry, except for a few people. Don't argue, Chen Ye will take me with him. Wanda, give up this idea. Deadpool shouted. Deadpool didn't think so much. He only wanted to go to the parallel universe and didn't care who Wanda was. No one could kill him anyway. Wanda obviously didn't expect Deadpool to argue with her. For a moment, her chaos magic was stimulated, her hair flew, her eyes turned red, and she glared at Deadpool. Seeing that Wanda was about to lose control, Pietro quickly grabbed her, fearing that Wanda would lose control and destroy the restaurant. Seeing this, Deadpool quickly ran behind Chen Ye and said in a mean way, Brother Chen Ye, look at how fierce Sister Wanda is. I'm afraid of her. At this time, Master Yi and others had already picked up their bowls and sat at another table. Okay, all of you stay here. There are still a lot of things in Hell's Kitchen that need you to deal with. I only trust you. Chen Ye quickly ended the farce and said helplessly. At this moment, the door of the restaurant was suddenly pushed open, and a young woman in her 30s with a charming boy in her teens appeared at the door of the restaurant. Although this young woman was a little older, she still maintained a good figure, and her face did not show too many signs of aging, and she still looked charming. She asked cautiously, Excuse me, are you hiring waiters here? When the young woman saw Wanda's red hair and eyes and the man in the weird costume of Deadpool, she said embarrassedly, It seems that I have come to the wrong place. Excuse me. Then she quickly pulled the little boy away, thinking that the people in Hell's Kitchen are dangerous, and the old lady had deceived her before. It is said that the safest place in Hell's Kitchen is this restaurant. As long as the restaurant owner protects you, you can live safely in Hell's Kitchen, but it seems that this restaurant is the scariest place in Hell's Kitchen. Noticing that an outsider has entered the restaurant, Wanda quickly returned to her normal appearance. Chen Ye quickly explained, "Ma'am, that's right. We are hiring people here. They were just acting just now. Don't be afraid." Noticing that an outsider has entered the restaurant, Wanda first stared at Chen Ye and Deadpool fiercely, and then returned to her normal appearance. She walked up to the young woman and the little boy, smiled and asked, "Excuse me, what are your names?" Trying to restore her image just now, the young woman looked at Wanda, and it was hard to imagine that the woman in front of her was the oppressive red-haired girl just now. "This lady's acting skills are really good," she replied. "My name is May Parker. This is my nephew Peter Parker. Are you hiring waiters here?" Chen Ye smiled and nodded, explaining, "Yes, I am the boss here, Chen Ye, and we are indeed hiring waiters." Chen Ye never expected that he had just sent away the Spider-Man of the parallel universe yesterday, and today he was sent the Spider-Man of their universe. Chapter 69. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the next meal. Aunt May looked at Chen Ye in front of her and felt that he was the most normal person in the restaurant. Aunt May was about to ask Chen Ye about his work. Unexpectedly, Peter Parker asked curiously, "Excuse me, are you superheroes?" "It's so cool." As soon as Peter Parker entered the door, he saw Deadpool's strange dress and Wanda's red eyes, but he was not scared. Instead, he was curious about these things. Everyone was stunned when they heard Peter Parker's question. They didn't expect that this child would ask such a question. Aunt May quickly covered Parker's mouth, and then smiled awkwardly at Chen Ye and others. Children are ignorant, and it's really embarrassing to ask such questions. Deadpool suddenly stood up from his seat, walked to Peter Parker, and posed handsomely. "That's right, I didn't expect you to have such a good vision." "That's right, I am the strongest superhero here, Deadpool." Deadpool was obviously very satisfied with Parker in front of him, and said confidently. Chen Ye directly took Deadpool away, and then said to Parker, "We are not superheroes, we are just ordinary people." Chen Ye didn't want to be a superhero. Generally, superheroes mean that they will encounter a lot of super troubles. Parker looked at Chen Ye, who looked like an ordinary person in front of him, and didn't understand why Chen Ye, an ordinary person, was the boss here. The boss was not the handsome superhero Deadpool in front of him. Chen Ye looked at the little Parker who had not yet become Spider-Man, smiled, and his eyes revealed an indescribable depth. The life of a superhero is not as beautiful as people imagine. Sometimes, being an ordinary person and living an ordinary life is actually a kind of happiness. Chen Ye's words instantly made little Parker's favorability towards him plummet. Little Parker disagreed with what Chen Ye said. After all, every little boy has a dream of becoming a superhero. He straightened his chest and said firmly, "I don't want to live this kind of ordinary life. I must become a superhero." Wanda looked at the little Parker in front of her with interesting eyes, thinking of the parallel universe. Could it be that this person in front of her is the Spider-Man of this universe? Chen Ye shook his head. Little Parker was still too young, but this universe probably didn't have to sacrifice Uncle Ben, so it seemed that he could only sacrifice Aunt May. He looked at Aunt May on the side, with a bit of pity in his eyes. Deadpool noticed this scene and took the initiative to come over and patted Parker on the shoulder. His eyes flashed with a playful light. "Boy, I'm optimistic about you. As long as you are willing, I can teach you how to become a real superhero at any time." Then he took out a bouquet of roses and turned to Aunt May, who looked embarrassed, and said, "I don't know if this Ms. May is single." "It doesn't matter if she is not. As long as you are willing, I am willing to train this boy with you." Deadpool is still a little handsome after being cured by the horse spell. Aunt May blushed when she saw Deadpool's courtship in front of her. As soon as Deadpool finished speaking, Parker, who originally admired superheroes like Deadpool, instantly blocked Aunt May. His voice was full of anger and disappointment. "Let's go, Aunt May. The people here are not good people." Parker wanted to pull Aunt May away after he finished speaking. Chen Ye saw that the waiter of his restaurant was in hand, but it was about to be ruined by Deadpool again. He immediately kicked Deadpool away and said to Aunt May, "We provide food and accommodation for waiters here. Then he quickly pulled over the more normal Lao Ma and John Wick, pointed at them and said, "These two are our tenants and employees. Most of us are ordinary people like me. The guy just now was just an accident." Aunt May stopped immediately after hearing Chen Ye's condition of providing food and accommodation. After all, this condition is really tempting. Besides, she came to Hell's Kitchen because she had no money. However, Aunt May still looked at Chen Ye with doubts and vigilance. Free food and accommodation, a waiter has such a good treatment. After all, Aunt May asked herself that she was still a little pretty. Did this man like her? Wanda, who was beside her, couldn't help but feel jealous when she heard this. She looked down at herself, then at Aunt May, and suddenly realized the gap between herself and Aunt May. Then her eyes turned to Chen Ye again, and she began to wonder if she had seen Chen wrongly. Ye's motive. Chen Ye saw the look in Aunt May and Wanda's eyes, and immediately felt that he was misunderstood, and hurriedly explained. "We are indeed short of waiters here now. After all, our people often need to go out, and it is impossible to guard the store all the time. Our employees here are provided with food and accommodation, and I think it is not easy for you, a woman with a child. Don't worry, I am not the kind of person you think. I guess you came to Hell's Kitchen because of the school here." Aunt May nodded after hearing Chen Ye's explanation, and replied, "Yes, I heard that the school here is about to open, and it is free. So I want to send Parker in." Chen Ye smiled and said, "I am the founder of this school, so don't worry. Besides, this place is not far from the school, you can also visit little Parker when you are free." Hearing this, Aunt May's expression was a little surprised. She never thought that Chen Ye was the founder of this school. "I'm willing to stay." Aunt May had no worries after hearing what Chen Ye said. After all, Chen Ye had the ability to open a school and could have any woman he wanted. He would not be interested in an old woman like her. Chen Ye nodded and then told Pietro. "Take them upstairs to pick a room, and then tell him what he needs to do on a daily basis." Then Chen Ye watched Pietro, Aunt May, and the vigilant little Parker walk to the elevator, and of course, a courteous Deadpool followed behind. "Okay, we've just been delayed for some time. During this time I'm gone, you all have to do your own things well." Chen Ye began to explain things to everyone. An hour later, Chen Ye explained everything and hurried upstairs to pack up and prepare to leave. Everyone left the restaurant one after another, but Wanda was still not leaving. She looked at Chen Ye's busy figure, feeling worried and helpless. When Chen Ye prepared his things and went downstairs to leave, he saw that Wanda had not left, and he knew what Wanda was thinking. When Chen Ye prepared his things and went downstairs to leave, he saw Wanda still standing there, and he knew what she was thinking. He walked up to Wanda, patted her shoulder gently, and comforted her. "I will be back soon, don't worry. I'll leave Hell's Kitchen to you." Wanda looked at him, her eyes full of worry and reluctance. She knew that Chen Ye's departure this time might mean danger and challenge, but she also knew that he had to do it. She nodded silently, without saying anything else, just watching him leave silently. Then, a huge golden halo suddenly appeared behind Chen Ye, instantly covering everything around him. Wanda looked at all this in amazement, and then saw Chen Ye pass through the halo and disappear from her sight. Chapter 70. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was so confused that he was not able to finish the task. "So how can I complete the task? Master Gu Yi, the damn riddle man." Chen Ye muttered helplessly while sitting in a cafe outside the Columbia University Museum. Chen Ye recalled the meeting with Master Gu Yi 2 days ago, and asked what it would take to complete the task. Gu Yi just said lightly, "You will know when the time comes." Then he threw the confused Chen Ye into the crack of time and space. I don't know whether Master Gu Yi trusts Chen Ye's ability or simply wants to retaliate against Chen Ye's pretentious behavior 2 days ago. Chen Ye has been in this parallel universe for 2 days, looking at this similar place. It is also the Big Apple City, with the same tall buildings. The difference is that there is no Stark Industries building here, but there is an Osborne Industries building. Rather than saying this is a parallel universe, it is better to say that this is a parallel universe dedicated to Spider-Man. There is no Iron Man, no Shield, and no Camartage here. It seems that Spider-Man has not been born yet, because Chen Ye did not see a man publicly complaining about Spider-Man in the Daily Bugle. Chen Ye is still not sure which Spider-Man's parallel universe this is. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be confirmed today. Chen Ye learned through various channels that people from a university will visit the Spider Museum today, so Chen Ye dressed up as a tourist early and waited in the cafe in Columbia University. If nothing unexpected happens today, Chen Ye should be able to see Peter Parker here, on the other side. Hey, stop the car for me. A man wearing glasses and a striped shirt was seen slapping the window of the school bus and shouting there. Please stop the bus. The man ran after the school bus and begged it to stop. This cowardly man was exactly the person Chen Ye needed to find, the Peter Parker of this parallel universe. When the driver of the school bus saw this scene, he not only did not stop the bus, but also accelerated the speed of the bus while laughing. Call a taxi. Parker. Other classmates also laughed at the man while watching the show, and had no intention of asking the driver to stop. Finally, a red-haired woman who was being intimate with her boyfriend couldn't stand it anymore. This person was Mary Jane Watson, Peter Parker's neighbor. Maybe it was because of kindness, or because Parker was her neighbor. She quickly stepped forward and tilted her head and shouted to the bus driver, "Stop the car." He started chasing from Woodham Street. Perhaps the bus driver was afraid of being complained, so he could only stop the car unwillingly. Poor Parker chased for more than 10 minutes and finally got on the bus. He panted and apologized to the driver. "Thank you, sorry. I'm late." As soon as Peter finished speaking, he attracted all kinds of ridicule and sarcasm from his classmates. They also threw small notes one after another, as if to make him feel more embarrassed in this way. Peter was used to this kind of treatment, and he just wanted to find a seat and sit down as soon as possible, but when he saw an empty seat, the classmate next to him quickly occupied it with both hands. Obviously not wanting Peter to sit down, he said to Peter Parker with disdain, "Don't even think about it, you idiot, Parker." Peter could only continue to move forward helplessly, and all the places where there were empty seats were rejected by his classmates. Peter felt very disappointed. He cowardly did not sit down shamelessly, but kept walking to the end of the bus. When passing by his neighbor Mary, Peter looked at her with a smile, but Mary was hugged by her boyfriend at this time, and her eyes were dodging, and it was obvious that she didn't want to have too much contact with Peter. Just when Peter's eyes were fixed on Mary, a gangster student beside him suddenly stretched out his foot and tripped Peter. Peter Parker didn't notice and fell to the ground, and his glasses were gone. Seeing Peter embarrassed, the bus laughed again. This seemed to have become their entertainment. The bus continued to move forward amidst the laughter and arrived at the destination. However, Parker fell into deep loss. After waiting for 2 hours, Chen Ye also saw Peter Parker in the school tour group. Chen Ye left the cafe and walked towards Peter Parker. At this time, Peter was still greeting her neighbors, but Mary was just with her best friend, just a greeting. Just when Peter was embarrassed, he suddenly heard a voice that shocked his heart. "Brother, if you like her, go after her. You won't be able to pick up girls if you're a licker like this." The voice came from a man who stood behind Peter and looked at him with a smile. Peter was a little confused because he didn't know this man. At this time, Chen Ye had confirmed that the world in front of him was Tobey's version of Spider-Man, and also the most real and cowardly Spider-Man. However, Chen Ye did look a little friendly, because the man in front of him was the first superhero movie he had seen in his previous life. He may not have the personal heroism of Iron Man and Captain America, but he is indeed the most real superhero. Peter Parker looked at the familiar man in confusion and asked, "Do we know each other?" "My name is Chen Ye. I know you, Peter Parker, right? I was your former classmate. Don't you recognize me?" Chen Ye explained innocently. Peter Parker heard Chen Ye's words and thought for a while. He didn't seem to have any Chinese classmates, but the man in front of him knew his name. Could it be that he was really my former classmate? Peter couldn't help thinking. "You really don't remember? You are the Peter who is often bullied. I was also bullied because of my Asian identity before, so I have an impression of you." Chen Ye quickly made up a story, but Asians being bullied in this free country is not a fabrication. Chen Ye's word surprised Peter a little. He didn't expect that he and this man had the same experience. He began to have a good impression of this man and took the initiative to reach out and shake Chen Ye's hand. "Hurry up, classmates behind." Just when Peter wanted to continue asking Chen Ye, he was urged by the tour guide. Peter could only look at Chen Ye with an apologetic face. "Sorry, I have to go to visit first. We will find a chance to talk later. Peter rarely met a classmate who was friendly to him, and wanted to talk to Chen Ye for a while. Chen Ye waved his hand, indicating that he didn't care, but Chen Ye followed him. After all, Chen Ye still wanted to witness the famous scene of Spider-Man's birth.